Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Kristen Waggoner. During this COVID-19 epidemic, many government restrictions are in place across this nation. We are so grateful to public officials and communities for using their best efforts to protect the public's health and safety. For the most part, these efforts have been constitutional. But in recent days, we're seeing more state and local officials take actions that are losing sight of the constitutional limits on their authority. ADF receives generally nearly about 100 requests each day for help from churches, organizations, and individuals. They're either asking for clarification about orders that they're confused about, or they're asking what are their rights in these times of crisis. We're trying to respond to those efforts and help them as much as we can, and we're vigilantly tracking all of these orders that are across the United States. And it is a job, let me tell you, given that these orders are in place both locally and at the state level. Today, we want to tell you about two specific situations where the government has overstepped its bounds and let you know what ADF is doing in response. First, we want to update you on an important case ADF filed last Friday and some breaking news this morning and this afternoon. This case has kept us very busy even today. We challenged a city order in Greenville, Mississippi that specifically bans drive-in church services. According to this order, which was issued by a mayor, it's legal for people to go to Sonic Drive-In or Taco Bell and wait for their food with their windows rolled down, interacting with other people. But they will receive fines if they attend a drive-in service at their church. The lawsuit came about when the Temple Baptist Church members drove to the church's parking lot, stayed in their cars, as the church instructed them to do, with their windows rolled up, and listened to their pastor preach a sermon over an FM transistor radio from a microphone that was inside the empty church, and the church's doors were locked to ensure that no one could enter the church except the few people that were helping with the radio transmission. Although no one left their cars, which numbered fewer than 20, 8 different uniformed police officers arrived at the service and issued tickets of $500 per person for violating the mayor's ban. Just today, ADF received word that the mayor has doubled down on his threat and his order and has insisted that the church stop meeting through drive-in services. In response, ADF will be filing a request for a temporary order receiving protection from the court this week. And I have to tell you, we received some tremendously good news today. The United States government is filing a statement of interest in this case on behalf of this church. The federal government agrees that the mayor's actions exceeded his authority as the church attendees were complying with CDC guidelines and engaging in social distancing. We are so grateful that Attorney General Barr and the Department of Justice are stepping in to protect civil liberties, to warn state and local officials that the Constitution matters even in a time of crisis. It is possible to protect public health and safety and comply with the Constitution in the First Amendment. If you're a church and you have questions about your rights, I would encourage you, please contact us at www.adflegal.org. And you may also want to check out our Church and Ministry Alliance website at www.adfchurchalliance.org. The next situation I want to talk about involves David Benham, a former baseball player and star of HGTV's Flip It Forward, who was arrested on April 4th while conducting peaceful sidewalk counseling outside of a North Carolina abortion clinic. Here today, we actually have David Benham to tell us and discuss what happened in the situation. So David, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today.
Thanks for having me, Kristen. It's an honor to be with ADF and just to see all the work that you guys do. So I'm very thankful that you guys have stepped in alongside me.
Well, and it's a privilege to work with you on this. It's great when we're on the right side of things, which we always try to be. So can you walk us through what happened outside of that abortion clinic?
Well, sure. I'm the chairman of the board for Cities for Life. It is a federally recognized 501c3 public charity, and we do social services for mothers facing an unwanted pregnancy. And we have sidewalk counselors that are there on any given day that the abortion facility is open, so that when those mothers going in that feel they have no choice, we actually offer them choices. And we basically plug them in with pre-medical care. We plug them into free sonograms, baby showers, housing assistance, adoption services, the whole 9 yards. So we do all these things. And I got a call Saturday morning that from our attorney that was in Charlotte. And he said, hey, David, one of the sidewalk counselors said that there's about 15 police officers there and they're threatening arrest to our sidewalk counselors. And I was shocked, because as an organization, first of all, we are an essential organization. We are an essential business. We're well within our rights. But also, as a ministry, we decided to go above and beyond and scale down to only a handful of sidewalk counselors. And we would draw sidewalk chalk so that they would stay socially distant with hand sanitizer and all these other things. So we went above and beyond. Anyway, so I showed up at the abortion facility and I went across the street. We had 3 sidewalk counselors. And then I went across the street and the police officer came directly up to me and said, you can't be here. This is a gathering of more than 10 people. And I said, first of all, there's not more than 10 people here. Second of all, I'm also part of Cities for Life, which is a federally recognized public charity. We have every right to be here. He said, no, you don't. There's more people here than 10, and I'm going to cite you and arrest you if you don't leave. And I knew at that point, Kristen, that a line had been drawn in the sand. Now, I've never been arrested a day in my life, ever. And I really appreciate our governors. I appreciate our government leaders and our men and women of blue trying to help. You know, we want to stem the tide of this COVID crisis. But this is a moment where my constitutional rights don't go out the door because we're in the middle of a crisis. So I decided to stay, and he ended up arresting me.
Wow. Well, and actually, someone in your group had the good sense to videotape that conversation that you had with the police officer. And we'd just like to play it for the audience right now. So let's listen and watch.
That abortion clinic exceeds the number of 10. And we are an essential, federally recognized nonprofit charity that helps at-risk mothers and babies. We are within our rights to be here. We are practicing social distancing. We have cleaned our hands. We are offering help to these mothers. And if you're saying that we don't have the right to be here, then go in the abortion clinic and make the arrest there.
Mr. Benham, I don't have the authority to go in the abortion clinic.
So you don't have the authority to go in the abortion clinic, but you have the authority to bully us and our sidewalk counselors. Yes, you are.
I'm being as nice
yes,
as I can
no.
be.
You know, you're trying to be nice. It's passive aggressive. But guess what's happening? I'm not budging, and our sidewalk counselors are not budging.
I respect your rights, believe me. But at this time, can you please step over there?
I'll step over here. Yes, sir. I certainly will.
Thank you.
But you know we're right. You know we're right.
Okay.
And I appreciate you serving. I appreciate everything that you do for us.
Yes, sir.
But this is wrong, and you know it. You cannot tell us to leave.
David, why did you feel that it was so important to be outside of that abortion clinic praying, even in the midst of this crisis with public health and safety?
Well, I kind of boiled it down to 2 specific points: our rights and our responsibility. It's my right as an American to be there peacefully with social distancing, to pray and to minister, but it's also my responsibility as a Christian to be a voice for the least of these. Jesus says, whatever you've done for the least of these, you've done for me. And the abortion facilities are deemed essential in North Carolina. And they're literally putting these women in the waiting room. When I was there, there were 14 or the director of our ministry knows exactly, but there were over a dozen mothers that were in the waiting room. And when they get done with an abortion, they come out and there's no one there to help them. But our sidewalk counselors stay there. We're there with them if they go in or when they come out, or if they choose not to go in, we're there with them to plug them into our sidewalk counseling services. These mothers need us. And if abortion is essential, our social services, all the good things that we're doing are absolutely essential. And I want to say this one quick thing before you ask your next question. When I was in my cuffs, they actually cuffed me, were walking me to the squad car. There was a mother in the mobile ultrasound unit that was getting a free sonogram. Her name was Rena. Rena decided, because of that free ultrasound, when she saw her baby, she chose life. And our sidewalk counselor has now come alongside her, and she has now adopted the mentorship. She's now mentoring this young mother. She's going to go with her to her prenatal visits. We're going to throw her a baby shower. And if she has housing needs or whatever, we're plugging her right in with everything that she needs. That is literally happening. While I was getting arrested, that is the story that was taking place that very moment.
Well, we thank God for that. And we're so glad that your group was out there. I mean, that's been our concern as well, is abortion clinics are asking for special exemptions so they can continue to take the lives of the unborn. And what we know from thousands of pro-life pregnancy centers and ministries like yours across the nation is that oftentimes when they're able to talk with those women in a compassionate way, women make a different choice. And how awesome is it that that day, you being out there and your group being out there, you literally saved a child's life. That had to be worth any discomfort or angst you've had since that moment when you got arrested. That in and of itself, right?
Absolutely. And it wasn't just that mother. It was 2 mothers that morning. But, you know, on any given day, we're between 2 to 5 mothers that choose life. And it's not just save the baby, though we want to save the baby, but it's help the mother. And that's what we're doing.
Right.
We started this ministry in 2010. We've had over 5,000 mothers choose life. We've partnered, actually, we've got multiple pro-life ministries in the city that we've connected with. We work hand in hand with the Department of Social Services, with adoption and fostering, over 45 families that do this. So we love our community, Kristen. We're not rabble rousers. We're not looking for trouble. We are exercising our Christian responsibility and our American rights at the exact same time.
Well, it sounds to me what you're doing is loving your neighbor, which is what we're called to do as Christians. And in the midst of this, one of the things that you said just really struck me, and I think it kind of defies the stereotypes that Planned Parenthood wants to put on those of us who are pro-life, in the sense of even if a woman chooses to end her child's life on that day and you can't get to her in time, you're still there to provide her the support, because we know that when they make the decision to have an abortion, there's also trauma and guilt and shame and hardship that comes after that decision. And your group's there to stand with those women as well. Right? Right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's why we stay there from before the facility opens until after they finish doing all the abortions. They're usually done around noon with the abortions, 1 o'clock. And we are there because, let me tell you this, Kristen, I've been to abortion facilities all over this country. When a mother gets an abortion and walks out of that facility, 0 follow-up. I mean, they're not helping her. She may be going back to an abusive relationship. Our crisis pregnancy centers here in Charlotte, we actually have domestic abuse counseling. We actually help these mothers. She may be going back into a situation with drugs, or her other children are in danger. We are here to help because we are the church. So Kristen, this battle, I'm so thankful you guys are standing alongside, fighting with us, because our ministry is more essential than anything that's going on, especially if you've got abortion facilities that are essential and ABC liquor stores are essential. Our ministry and our organizations with pro-life Christians all over this country, those are absolutely essential.
You're absolutely correct. And we'll be making the legal arguments to that effect. Tell us for a few minutes, why did you, at the time, you had to be having a million things go through your mind, especially not ever having been arrested. Most of us have not. So as you're grappling with this and you're trying to work it out in your mind, you reached the conclusion that you believe that the police's action was unlawful and that the arrest would be unlawful. So tell us why you felt that the arrest was unlawful.
Yeah, I just, I knew on multiple levels that it was unlawful. Just on the one hand, we were a federally recognized 501c3 public charity. I mean, we are an essential organization that's providing social services to these mothers. As a matter of fact, the state statute and the local ordinance are strongly encourage those organizations to continue. But also, we didn't even have 10 people there, and we had 3 sidewalk counselors. There were a couple of RV sonogram technicians inside the RV. And then I was across the street, and you can see in the video, I didn't have anyone around me. And that's why you'll see in the video, I said, go to the park, because the officer kept saying, sir, I'm acting on the advice of our attorney. You are part of, there is a gathering of more than 10 people. And I said, well, then go to the park and make arrests. The only reason you're not making an arrest there and you're actually making an arrest here is because specifically of where I'm standing. at an abortion clinic, and that is viewpoint discrimination. And I knew this is government overreach. Like I said earlier, my constitutional rights don't go out the door because we're in the middle of a global pandemic. We went above and beyond to protect our neighbor, but we also are essential to protect our most vulnerable neighbors, the unborn.
David, you were well within your constitutional rights. If other groups are permitted to assemble, then people of faith should be able to as well. And if abortion clinics are staying open, then people of faith should be allowed to pray and offer sidewalk counseling outside, particularly when you're abiding by health and safety guidelines like social distancing, just as your group was. This is why ADF sent a demand letter to the city on your behalf. We want always to try to engage with the spirit of cooperation and not antagonism to try to work these things out. But in order to work things out, government officials have to understand the constitutional rights that are at stake, and they need to understand that they can't engage in government overreach. We've engaged in discussions with the city attorney, and we're hoping that those will continue this week so that we can resolve this issue and that more children can be saved and more women can receive the tangible material support that your group is offering them. In both Greenville and in Charlotte, government officials are targeting churches and religious charities like David's Cities for Life. The Constitution prohibits them from singling out people of faith for discrimination, even in a time of national crisis. David, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. And thank you for standing up not only for your rights, but for the thousands of sidewalk counselors across this nation, and hoping and praying and asking God to help us save more lives. The issues that we've discussed today will keep us busy for the foreseeable future, and we need your prayers and your support as ministry friends. I want to ask if you would please consider making a gift to help us in this work, defending churches and people of faith as we work to protect freedom in the midst of COVID-19. If you're able, if you haven't been affected so severely as so many others have by COVID-19, would you please consider making a gift to help us fight this fight right now? When this first happened, I thought that our attorneys would have some time to do projects and pick up on work that needed to be done. And instead, what we're finding is we are busier than we have ever been with requests. But we are so grateful for our ministry friends. We're grateful for your generosity, but we're also grateful for your prayer support, which is so critical in times like these. So thank you again. And finally, please know that at ADF, we're keeping a close eye on what's happening across this nation. You can find additional resources at adflegal.org/COVID-19. And if you feel that your rights have been violated, please reach out to us so that we can help you through our website. Lastly, I just want to thank you for watching today. Thank you for the privilege of spending time with us. And we pray that God protects you, that he goes before you, and that he helps you as your Jesus' hands and feet in your family, in your church, and in your community. Thank you, and God bless.